Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 528 of Ink in Your Veins. I'm Rachael Herron. So thrilled that you are here with me today because I have been dying to give you this episode. This episode is with Dr. Zoe Shaw, and it's taken me a little bit longer to get this to you than normal because I wanted it to come out the week that her book comes out, Stronger in the Difficult Places. It just did. This has to be one of my favorite episodes in so long. And Dr. Zoe Shaw is going to blow you away with her story of her path to publication. And this is on surviving and thriving in publishing, which is kind of hard to do sometimes. Um, so please do not miss this one. Do not miss this one. You will eat it up. And I know I always say that, but that's because I'm very lucky and I get incredible guests. But this one. All right. What's been going on around here? I was sick last week. I'm well now. Poor Lala is sick this week. I'm gaslighting her and telling her it's a different illness because it has none of the same symptoms that mine does. I just think it's a cold and a cold going to different places. It is not COVID. We tested a lot. Hey, did you know? I feel very responsible to tell you this, but I got to look up the exact chemical name. Now you're curious. Hold on. I'm back with the name of this. I feel like not enough people are talking about this, and I do feel as though there are people who are COVID cautious and COVID safe listening to me because there are a lot of us who are living with chronic illness and our bodies are more fragile than a lot of the bodies around us. I don't know if my body's fragile. My body is really tough and it's an overreactor. My particular genetic condition means that I overreact to everything. So it's very strong and robust in the way that it reacts. And that's why I try not to get something even as casual as a cold because it can turn into bigger, worse things for me. So I still mask in public when I'm in public places, public transportation. I don't mask when I'm at a restaurant if there's good ventilation. But honestly, I've been to two restaurants this year, maybe. I've really tried to limit my exposure indoors, etc. And I still get colds because I'm human. And there's this new thing that just happened at the beginning of September that the Journal of American Medicine has come out talking about. It's on the WebMD website. I want you to do your own research and before you do anything with this, but they have shown that nasal spray that has azelastine, Azelastine. If it has azelastine in it, it may help to reduce the risk of COVID infections by 67 to 70%. That is incredible. That means you're well vaccinated, you take precautions, you mask, and you do this nasal spray twice a day. 67 to 70% chance, less chance of you getting COVID if you are exposed to it. And it applies to new variants of it because basically, when I was reading the abstract and the information about it, and this is going to be non-scientific, and I'm not a doctor. But what I think I learned is that it just smooths out the inside of your nose to the point where just stuff doesn't stick to it, including new variants or other viruses or colds or flus. It's just harder if you can get it by getting it in your nose or in your upper breathing area, it can help prevent that. So, girl, I got me some and I'm taking it. And also, I have bad allergies anyway, and it's spring here and it's wonderful. I already take allergy pills and I'm cutting down on that and going up to the nose spray. This was all something to talk about with your doctor. I am not giving you medical advice. Jesus, it is in some places here in New Zealand, you can only get the that word, azazeline, in a steroid formula, so it may not be good for your body. It may not be right for your body. I think in the United States you can have it non-steroidal. I know you can in Australia. It's over the counter. Talk to your doctor. But I'm not seeing everybody talk about this. Why aren't we talking about a 67 to 70% chance of lessening your getting another COVID infection? Or if you're a Novid, God bless. I have known a couple of you. I don't think I know anyone else standing. I knew one person and she went down last month. There's probably a Novid or two listening to this, in which case, congratulations. That's amazing. But they're in, and I will just say the reason I talk about this stuff is that I do not want to get long COVID. I don't want to get the brain fog. My livelihood depends on this brain. As writers, we depend on our brains. Please take care of it in all the lovely, juicy, delicious ways. And if that nasal spray sounds interesting to you, Google it up and talk to your doctor. Another way I'm taking care of my body recently is I mentioned this? I think I have, but I have fallen in love with Pilates. It is so great. I feel dumb about saying it because I don't consider myself to be a Pilates girly. But I don't go to a Pilates girly kind of place. I go to a place that is filled with mostly women who are older than me. There's the place I go has six of the machines in a room, and it's so good. You're lying down while you're doing these exercises. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them you are lying down super supported and you're working your core and it feels so good. And I can feel it the next day, but I don't hurt too much. I don't overdo it. I feel like all of these things that are fragile in me are well taken care of. Maybe it's just my teachers in these classes, but they're so good and it's making me feel strong and and I really like doing it. What I love doing is riding my bike there and then back, although I haven't been able to do that for a few weeks because it's just been such awful weather. But I feel strong. It helps my brain. It helps my mood. It's really annoying that exercise really always does help. Lala and I complain about that fact to each other a lot because neither of us want to do it. But the key is finding something that you really want to do that is actually fun, that feels delicious in the body. If you tell me to work out, I will not do it. I don't want to sweat. I don't want to exert myself, but I do want to make this body feel good. And if I could do that by doing something like Pilates, sometimes feels like I'm giving myself my own massage. Mm, it's good. So we went off into the weeds of body stuff, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So now, without further ado, let us jump into this interview with Zoe Shaw. Here is her bio. Dr. Zoe Shaw is a licensed psychotherapist, author, speaker, podcast host, relationship coach, and proud mom of five. After 15 years in traditional psychotherapy, Dr. Zoe left the therapy couch to create a more dynamic way to help women heal, blending the best of psychology, faith, and just the right dose of feminism. She's best known in her field for coining the term complex shame. Through virtual coaching programs and her podcast, Stronger in the Difficult Places, also the name of her book, she guides women to break free from codependency and shame and reclaim their voices, boundaries, and self-worth. You're going to freak out about this interview. Please enjoy. Here we go. Well, I could not be more pleased to have you on the show. Will you please share your name and pronouns with us?
Yes, my name is Zoe, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm so
Thank
excited to be
you.
here.
Dr. Zoe, you are
Yes.
here. Will you give us a little bit of background on how you and I connected like 5 years ago?
Yes, it was actually way more than 5 years that I connected with you, but I first sent you a text 5 years ago. I don't even remember at this point how I found your podcast, but I started listening. I was this little scared, I say little, it was 5 years ago, but I feel so little back then. This scared woman who dreamed that maybe I could write. And I started listening to your podcast, and you gave me hope that never would have existed without your voice in my ears, weekend, sometimes day in, day out. And so I started this draft, maybe 6 years ago is when I actually started the draft. And I wrote this to you on the way home from my first ever writing retreat that left my kids, left my husband, he's no longer my husband at that time, and did a very what I felt like selfish thing. So I wrote you and I said, "Hi there." This was in February 2nd, 2020. Hi there. I just finished listening to your book, Fast Draft Your Memoir. I'm pretty sure it changed my life. I can't be 100% sure because I haven't exactly finished my memoir. I started listening to your book on the drive to my weekend writing retreat last weekend. I have read a lot of books on writing and memoir specifically. This book challenged, educated, I lost myself and inspired me in such a way that I am convinced that I can really finish this thing. I am in the phase of editing my first completed draft. I have never written an author before, but I needed to thank you for being exactly what I needed in the middle of my doubt storm. Thank you.
In the middle of
So,
your doubt
yes,
storm.
in the middle of my doubt storm, you gave me hope, and I went and I wrote that weekend, and I soon finished that. And I've texted you a couple of times over the years because maybe a year or two later, after much editing, I submitted and I got an agent, and I was so excited. This was 100,000 word memoir. And then I went through, and for you listeners out there, the writing journey is tough. I went through a year with an agent that I shouldn't have been with. And the reason why I got her was because I was in that kind of dating place where you're like, oh, you chose
Somebody
me.
wants me.
Like,
Somebody, yeah.
somebody wants me. I didn't really do my research. I didn't really even connect with her. And I didn't love the way she was wanting to take my memoir, but I was so happy to get an agent, I just took it. And so I
What
suffered
were
through a year.
Do you mind me asking, because people don't talk about this enough. I think number one,
Mhm.
okay, first of all, I'm just so excited to talk to you. I can't even stand because I
I
remember
know. I'm like
very
racing.
vividly that Instagram connection, like that. I just remember all of this. But what were some of the red flags with that particular agent that made you know eventually that she was not for you?
So the first red flag was actually when we had our first Zoom call.
Oh
She just
God.
didn't seem really interested, although it was kind of like, yeah, okay. It was almost like, I'll take you. And no, I think it wasn't even that. We had a Zoom call and she said, I'll think about it.
Mm,
And when we were going over what my memoir was about, she wanted to take an angle that was completely not my interest in taking on the book.
hmm.
But I was like, okay, maybe that will work. And so I just kind of allowed myself. And I remember I responded to her. So maybe a week or so went by and I'm on pins and needles. And then I finally email or text her and she's like, yes, I'll take you. It was kind of like that. And
Oh.
then I went a year with her. She'd rarely return my emails. We finally, like 8 months later, got to a place where she pitched. So she did pitch. We got a number of rejections, six, seven, 10, I don't remember, a lot of them.
Hmm.
Now, the thing that was helpful is that with those rejections, some of the publishers said, we think this would be better as a self-help book.
What did you think the first time you heard that?
Well, the funny thing was is that I originally intended, because I'm a psychologist, to
Right.
write a self-help book. But when I sat down to write, a memoir came out.
Mm.
And so I wasn't opposed to it. I wasn't, but I still wanted to very much include my story because my story was really important to me, especially when it comes to complex shame and what I wanted to get across. So the thought of maybe I could blend memoir and self-help kind of started swirling in my mind. And so finally, after a couple of months, I did the really hard thing and I broke up with her, and it felt like a breakup. I grieved it because
Oh,
it's like you break up and you're like, I don't know, that might have been my only one. I don't know if I'm ever going to get
absolutely.
anybody again. And then just the uncomfortableness. I mean, all of the breakup stuff. I
And that
had a
takes
serious
so
breakup.
much courage. That takes so
Yes.
much courage in the publishing
Yes.
industry where we are kind of sold this line, well, if you get an agent, then all your troubles are over, but it's going to be impossible to get one, so don't let them go if you get one. And
Yes.
you did that. Did you have anybody like rooting for you? Did you have
Just
somebody
my
in your
best
ear?
friend.
Okay,
My
good.
best friend, Rosie, who is my cheerleader, and she tells me I'm the best thing in the world. So, yeah, she was the only one. She's like, "Do it. You can find another agent. You don't need her." All the
Bless
things, right?
Rosie.
Yes, bless
Oh.
Rosie. And so I did. I fired her with no knowledge that I would ever be able to do this again. And then I started pitching. I pitched about 40 agents.
Hmm.
And I found my wonderful Keely Boving, who's my agent.
Your
And she
face
and
just looked
I,
so
yes,
happy and melty when
yeah,
you talked about like I could
right.
see you just like with love in your face.
I do. I adore her. And our very first meeting, it was night and day. She loved my work. We talked about it. We talked about her vision. It aligned with mine.
Oh, I have
All the
goosebumps.
things. It was, yes, it was just beautiful. And I think within a month we pitched. And my book went to auction with a couple of the big fives.
And
And
not
then
we'll just say not a small auction either.
not a small auction. Yes, I got a two book deal for what do they call a very good deal? I don't
Very
know.
good. Very
Yeah.
good. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Like I felt like I won the lottery. I did. And it
And that
was
was with
all
Penguin
that
Random
work.
House. Yeah.
Penguin,
Yeah.
yes. Penguin Random House, yes. So, um, for people out there that are on that journey, I know it is a roller coaster. It can be a roller coaster, and you really have to believe.
Where in this did you do the conversion from the
Mm,
memoir into the prescriptive nonfiction memoir, self-help? Like, was that before you went out looking for a new agent, or was that after you got her and did it, or did you sell on proposal? How did that work?
proposal. So
Oh
I
my God, so you
started,
hadn't even done it
yes,
yet.
I hadn't done it. Wait, there's more. So I hadn't
Tell
done it.
tell
I
us just
proposed it.
everything.
I proposed it. It was a great proposal. I got the two book deal. I wrote the freaking book and they rejected it. They rejected it. So I must also say that I wrote it in the middle of divorce because I got my
Oh,
book deal about the same time I knew I was divorcing my husband. So it was a whole process.
wow.
I wrote that book in the midst, really in the process of divorce. And my publisher, my editor rejected it. And she said, this isn't it. And
You had like
I,
all of the emotions during
yes,
that time. Like
I
you
did.
probably weren't able to totally celebrate this sale because you're also
Right.
going through the heartbreak and
Yes.
chaos of
Yeah.
that separation, plus
Right.
then being rejected, which I can imagine would feel like one of the greatest rejections, like one of the biggest.
Oh, 100%. And talk about imposter syndrome and shame. My book is about shame.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
I can say this with a smile on my face because actually she was so right. She was right. And she, helped me. She nurtured me. My agent did. I
Mhm.
rewrote that darn thing and she accepted it. Not only accepted it, but glowed about it. And yeah, it's launching. So,
This is the one that is launching.
yeah,
I frequently talk about the time, and I was just talking to a class about it the other day, about the time where I got the call about my second book. And my editor said, it was good, the writing's great, love the dialogue, everything, but there's no plot. And I remember saying,
wow.
this was my second book, so I'd never written a second book. I didn't know how to do it, and I didn't know how to
Right.
revise. And I remember saying, "Can I fix it?" And I expected her to say, "Yeah, of course, I'll help. I'll show you how." And she said, "I don't know. It'll be a
Oh,
lot of heavy lifting." And so basically in that moment she was saying, I am going to reject this book. This is not go this
yes.
we can't publish this unless you.
Hmm.
And I remember Googling, going to a hotel for the weekend, a hostel for the weekend, and Googling how to revise a book because I didn't know how. Like, so I understand that
Yes. Yes.
terror.
Sure. Yes. The
So
thing
now
you
when
feared the most when you signed that contract, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So when does I meant to look, but I forgot. When does the book actually launch?
September 30th.
Mm,
So it feels like it's tomorrow. Yeah.
I think I might hold this interview until then. So when this goes
Okay.
live, see, look at us talking business right on the air here. Um, so people will just be able to go run out and buy it. Will you please tell us the title and the concept and everything behind this book?
Yes, the book is called Stronger in the Difficult Places. The subtitle is Heal Your Relationship with Yourself by Untangling Complex Shame. And it is both a memoir and a complete narrative nonfiction. So this book really, I lay out this concept that I talk about, which is complex shame, which is a type of shame that is not healed by vulnerability and external compassion. It's complicated,
Take that,
right? And
Brene
so
Brown.
people, yes, and her, her what I call simple shame is very valid,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work for everybody. The
And
antidote.
you coined the term
I
complex shame.
did. I coined the term.
Will you tell us a little bit about simple, complex, and toxic?
Absolutely. Yeah. So,
And I know I'm asking you to reduce like all of your studies and work in a book into like a few minutes here, but
yeah.
what this does, it'll get people to want the book even more.
Yeah. So simple shame is that type of shame. And, a woman just described to me when I was on a podcast and she said, I struggled with infertility and I felt so much shame about it. And when I finally started talking about it and I got so much acceptance and validation, and other people had experienced. She said, my shame went away and now I can talk about it. That's an example of simple shame, right? Complex shame, when someone has shame and it disproportionately affects marginalized people for a couple of reasons I'll talk about. But complex shame is a type of shame that when you do that, when you talk about it, you either can't accept the external compassion that comes because there's a part of you that says, "Oh, no, you don't understand.
Hmm.
You don't really know because if you did, you would not give me that compassion." And then the other thing that happens, especially with marginalized people, is that if they talk about their shame, they are sometimes gaslighted for their shame and they're told, oh, that didn't really happen, or that's not what's happening in the world, or that doesn't count, or all of these things. And so instead of their shame being alleviated, it just spirals, it goes deeper, right? And
Yeah.
so then toxic shame is a different type of shame, and it can it can begin in a similar way that complex shame does, but it's very much attached to identity, and it warps yourself in such a way that you are really kind of not able to function in a healthy way in society at all, whether it's relationships or, and it tends to happen with people who have personality disorders.
Hmm.
So it's a different type of shame. And, you know, people know toxic, people know simple, the Brene Brown type of shame, but people don't understand the complex. And so when they try to do these things and their shame goes deeper, they just think there's just something broken about me. And my answer is no, there's not. And the thing is, there was a book that I read called You Are Your Best Thing. I think it's by Tarana Burke.
Hmm.
And the thing that started me thinking about this is that she was talking about she was talking about a kind of shame that didn't work with Brene Brown's concept. And Brene Brown actually wrote a foreword to that book. And she said, I know my research is sound. I know that this works. She said, but lived experience trumps research. So I believe.
Mm.
And so I started thinking, what is this? Because I identified with it. And that's when I started doing my own research and came up with this term complex shame.
Mm. And then you put it into the memoir, and then you put it
I
into this book,
did.
which can
Yes.
actually help people.
Right.
How do you feel about having, like, we talk about the books of our hearts, right? But this is
Mm,
truly a
it
book of
is.
your like
Yeah.
heart, all of it.
Mhm.
How do you feel when you think about it being out there at Barnes and Noble on
Ah,
the front table there?
I'm terrified and I'm excited at the same time. So I've walked my own, and I share in the memoir. We won't go into it now, but my deep shaming experiences, and how I came to develop complex shame and how I got out of it. So shame is a part of my life, and I'm walking and maintaining it every single day. But I have been able to come to a place of health with my shame, but that vulnerability hangover is huge. I'm both terrified and excited. I've had conversations with my family because when you write a memoir, we say things, we tell the truth, and not everybody likes the truth. So, it's definitely my baby. It's like my most vulnerable piece.
How did the conversations go with your family? And I'm asking because this is something that students always are most worried about.
Yeah. My conversation with my mom was very hard, very, very hard. But I'm so glad that I did it, and it was a process of my healing.
Hmm.
What I had to explain to her is that I did not write an autobiography. I wrote a memoir. It's not a full memoir, and a memoir is
Yeah.
just a
It's
slice.
just a,
It's
and
a
it's
slice.
an angle. It's a
Right.
it's a it's a method of looking.
Exactly. And so I had to explain to her, I had to let my reader understand my shame story. All I wrote was my shame story. I didn't write about the wonderful experiences that I had in my childhood. I didn't write about all the good things because there wasn't space for that. I had to share my shame story. I think that that helped her because
Mm.
part of her was like, you made me sound so cruel and cold. And how could you then say all those wonderful things about me at the end? And the reality is that we have to be able in a healthy way to hold those two together,
Both
right? To hold
both
that
can
people,
exist.
yes, that
Yeah.
people are good and they're bad and they hurt you and they love you and they do the best they can. And so it was a very, very hard conversation, but I'm glad that I did it. And I'm glad that I wrote that book and did not give it to my mother until I couldn't change a word.
Perfect. That I'm so glad that you said that because a lot of people say, well, how much power should I give a loved one? And you can't. You can choose to give power to a loved one. And
Right.
I've talked about this for myself before. The only people that get power in my life over my memoir is my wife and my sisters.
Hmm.
Um, however, That is because they are always in my life and they're always connected to me and they could have veto power. And I'm not writing about them doing
Right.
bullcrap
Yes.
things because they don't do those things. That's not the kind of thing. If I were divorcing my wife,
Right.
guess who loses all power of veto? But
Yes.
nobody else gets that. It is your story,
Hmm.
and I love that it was just, it's proofs are done, Mom. Proofs are
I can't
the past
change
pages are
it.
over. You can't
Yes.
can't even change a comma
Hmm.
at this point.
Yeah. And I did let my sister read it along the way because I knew that I could. I knew that I couldn't with my mom. And I love my mom and we have a great
Yeah,
relationship, but I also knew that I couldn't share it with her until it couldn't be changed.
yeah.
Because I would have changed it. I would have, especially
There's
after
a
the conversation.
oh, I'm so glad you did it the way you did it. There's a useful exercise, and I think it might be, I can't remember who did it, whose it is. It might be Julia Cameron's, but where you put yourself on a piece of paper in a circle, in the middle of the page,
Mm,
and then you draw a safety circle, and then
mm,
you write
mhm,
with basically without thinking in
mm.
regards to this particular writing, who's safe and who isn't. And it could
I
be
love that.
everyone you love is outside the safety circle, but your gut knows. And then
Yes.
your friend
Yes.
who works at the coffee shop, that person is inside and you will share
Hmm.
it with them.
Hmm.
And you have to trust that because
I
we
love that.
know
We do
we
know.
can't
We
overthink
do.
it.
Yeah. And I told
Ki-
my mom I couldn't ask permission from everybody because then I'd be writing their story and not my story.
And they're welcome to write their stories.
Mhm. Yep.
And they won't, but
They won't. But they
all right.
can.
Will you tell us about the kind of your writing practice? What did that look like as you were going? What does it look like now?
Yeah. My writing practice today is very different than it used to be. I used to write in my closet, and my closet was a tiny closet. And I used to tell myself that I was writing in the closet because it was quiet and it was away from everybody. And then one day, without even thinking, I found myself writing at my desk and I
Oh my
realized
gosh.
that I'm not scared to write anymore. So I wrote in my closet because I was terrified and it
You
was the
were really
only
hiding.
place I was hiding amongst my clothes and completely covered up. And then one day I started writing out in public. And so my writing practice looks different now. Now I write in the cracks. I used to write just at 5 a.m. in the morning, and now I write whenever in the world I can because my life is super busy and I can get in and out of my writing a lot faster than I used to be able to. I used to need an hour to get into my writing.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just easier now than it used to be.
Mm.
Yeah.
And are you working on the second book in the contract now?
I am. Yes.
Your
I think
face. I
I
don't
can
know how to
share
read
with
your
you.
face.
I'm about 20,000 words in. Maybe 10 of them are good. And I know that you just started a new book too, right?
Yeah, and I'm about
Yeah.
20 or 30,000 words in, and maybe 5 or 7 of those words are good. But yeah, it's a this is a hard place to be right here
Yeah.
because we've had the idea, we've been excited about the idea, and then
Yes.
we're getting into it, and now we're going, oh no, can I? Am I good? Can I?
Can I do
I
it?
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. The name of this book is called Get Over Your Mother. And I also had to disclose to my mom that I'm writing that book. But I said, it's not about you necessarily. It's for everybody because we all need to, right? We all need to get over our mothers. And
Do you know
so,
how many people will one click that title? Just the title alone. I don't care who,
mm,
anything. I don't need to read any part of it. Just one
yeah,
click.
yeah. So I'm starting that one now.
Also, the title of this book is so beautiful. Did you come up with that or was that a publishing?
The name, I had the title Reckon with Her. That was the name of the title that
Mm.
I had. And my publishers were like, nah, that's not it. And my podcast, which I came up with, is called Stronger in the Difficult Places. And my editor, one day, we brainstormed a million titles. And finally, she said, why don't we just name it the name of your podcast? I was like, oh, I think that's beautiful. And so
And it's
that's how we came up.
wonderful for search engine optimization, all of it. Like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
so clever. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for
Not
that.
my idea. That was my editor's idea.
What have you found is the part of writing that you struggle with the most?
Oh, it's the blank page.
Mm. Hmm.
It is so hard. Like, I'll come up with a great idea. I can have a million ideas about it, but I have no idea how to start it. I struggle. I don't know what to say. I feel like I can't write anymore. It's the blank page. I love editing. I wish I
Me
could
too.
just download my first messy draft out of my brain. Just someone could just download it and then I can edit the crap out of it. I love to edit everybody's stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's the blank page.
I have a friend and student who asked me this week, actually, and I will just share it for people. They said, I'm, rewriting this book. It's a total rewrite from the ground up. I know, here's the inciting incident at, 10 or 15%. Can I just start at the 10 or 15% mark and write my way out? And then as I'm writing, I'll figure out the beginning. I'm like, not only can you do that, but I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. Like,
I
why
love
do
that.
we feel
Yeah.
like we have to start at the beginning? I know that I do, but
Yeah,
we
I do
don't. We
too.
can we can jump anywhere.
I need to figure out how to just start in the middle because the beginning sucks.
Anywhere in the middle. You and I can both try it. That is what I'm playing with. What is the most exciting thing you've ever realized about your writing process?
The most exciting thing. Um, I think it's just that I could do it because I was this little girl. I always dreamed in the back of my head this fantasy that I could be a writer, but I came from a family of doctors and scientists, and it was like you can't do that.
Hmm.
There's no money in that. That's not a real thing. I used to at 9 years old, I had a typewriter. That's how old I am. So I had a
Me too.
typewriter. And I used to actually transcribe my favorite books. I would type them out word by word because I wanted to be a writer so much, but I couldn't actually come up. I didn't have the creativity. So I think the most exciting thing I found about my writing is that I don't have to create stories. I can tell mine and I can tell other people's stories. And that's, as a psychologist, right? That's what I do best. And so I always wanted to be this novel kind of writer, but what I've
Mhm.
found is that that's not really what I am. I'm a narrative nonfiction writer.
And you walked yourself to that place
I
with the
did.
clinical psychology, with the
Hmm.
storytelling, and then
Hmm.
now you are there. That is
Yeah.
incredible. And also the whole copying, typing onto a typewriter is a time-honored way that people, 18th century, 19th century would learn how to write because then you would feel those sentences
Yes.
moving through you.
Yes.
How is a sentence built? And you were just
Yeah.
doing that
I just did
naturally.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without even thinking.
Speaking of other writing crafty type things, can you share a craft tip of any sort with us?
Mm. So I don't know how much of it is craft and how much, well, it's really about your lens and it's really about your mental space.
Please tell me more.
It's being willing to write as if no one will ever read it. And for me, that was hard because I was always editing. I was always thinking about what someone else would think about my writing. And when I finally was able to say, okay, I'm just going to write this as if no one will ever read it. I'm going to write the thing that I actually think and feel that I might be embarrassed and ashamed about, right?
Hmm.
I will edit it later
Hmm.
with faith that everyone will read it. But when I was able to start doing that, here's the amazing thing is that by the time I got to editing, that thing that scared me so much, actually often, sometimes I would cut it, but often it would be the most powerful thing that I wrote. And I'd
Mm.
figure out a way to keep it. And the fear about other people reading it had left by that time. So for someone out there who's afraid sometimes when they're writing and might think, oh, I don't want to say that, I say just say it. Just say it. Say the thing, and you can figure it out later in the editing.
Say the biggest, scariest,
Yeah. Yeah.
juiciest thing. And there is a way, I don't know how to do it, but on every computer, there is a way to password protect a single document. And one can do
Oh,
that. Like you
that's
can
good
password
to
protect a
know.
single
Yeah.
Word document. If you're worried that somebody in your life will
Hmm.
sneak in and read it, no, just keep it safe. And you're
Yeah.
allowed to do that. Oh,
Protect
that's
that thing. Yeah.
beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Can you tell us the kindest thing that you've ever done for yourself as a writer?
You know what? I think the kindest thing I did was, well, two things. The first was when I wrote you. That
Yeah,
text
that
and being
retreat.
willing to both go on that retreat and leave my family, which was huge at that time, and write when I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what I was doing or why I was doing it. That was the kindest thing because it felt so selfish. And I think, especially for women writers, probably the kindest things you will do for yourself as a writer are going to feel the most selfish.
Yes, please say that.
Mhm.
People need to hear that. How
Yes.
long did you go away for? Was it just a night or was it a
It
couple of
was a
nights?
weekend. It was like three
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
Yeah, 3 days at the beach, and I hold myself up in a hotel room and didn't leave. I ordered in and I wrote for 3 days, and it changed my life. It changed my life. Yeah,
In every single way, right?
it did. It
Your life
did.
looks
So many
nothing like it
ways.
did then.
Absolutely nothing. Nothing. And the other thing that I did for myself was I was willing to write things that I knew would bother people.
Yeah.
instead of keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a loving way, all with love. No anger, no, not about resentment, but really about sharing my story with other women. Yeah.
How did you come to that place of comfort with that? Do you think that that comes out of working through some of the complex shame, or is it a different place?
So it comes, yes, it comes out of working through the complex shame, but it also, you also have to do it scared. So I don't believe in all the things that I've learned in my life that doing anything hard or scary can happen when you're over it. You have to be willing to do it when you're scared and terrified anyway. And then after you've done the thing, that's when you start to really get over it. So I'm still a little terrified. The book hasn't come out yet. But yeah, I really believe in doing scary things.
I'm listening to you and agreeing with you, and also thinking, oh my God, I'm so tired of doing scary things.
Ah. But look
Yeah.
how far you've come from doing scary things,
Yeah.
right? Look how
I would
much you've grown and how much strength you have from doing the hard
I
things.
would never be in this chair if I,
No, you wouldn't
you
be in
know.
New Zealand.
No, I
No,
absolutely would not be, and I
right.
absolutely love it.
Hmm.
Can you please tell us about a specific moment when you knew you had ink in your veins?
Ooh. I think I've always known, but didn't actually, I wasn't able to admit it to myself, I think until I got my book deal. I think I always felt like an imposter until then. And the reality is that nothing really changes, right? Everything, I was still the exact same person the moment
Mhm.
before I got the deal. For some reason, I needed that external validation. And then when you get it, you realize, oh, that didn't really give me anything.
I know, it's
It didn't.
it's
I
it's
still have to
true
go through
and
all these things. Yeah.
frustrating and
Yes.
yeah, I never remember where I saw this one quote, but somebody said like I thought I would wake up on the day my book came out and everything well it would have changed, but she went to the front door and opened it and she just picked up the newspaper and walked back in the house just like it was
Any
another
other day.
day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it does but in terms of proving to yourself that that ink is running
Yes.
in your veins,
Yeah.
that is what you needed.
Hmm. It was. It was. Yeah. It proved to myself that all of that, all those years of the quote selfish behavior,
Mhm.
right, was worth it.
Who else was supporting you in that time? Have you worked with other writers, or has it just been Rosie? Or
Yes. So in addition to listening to your podcast every single week, I found a writers group. They're called Hope Writers.
good.
Ironically, I worked with them for years, and now I'm the director. I'm the creative director of Hope Writers. So they were a lifeline to me as well. All of these other writers in the same space struggling, trying to figure things out. My best friend Rosie, my therapist, oh my goodness, did he ever support me in that process between the divorce and the book deal and the freak out after, because there was a freak out after I got my book deal because there was this pressure. Like,
Mhm.
oh, they're paying me to do this and I have
And
to
it
produce this thing.
and it
Can I
gets
do
so much
it?
harder
It's
under that
hard.
pressure.
It's so much harder, which is why my first one got rejected because the pressure. Yeah.
Ah, and the reason I asked is I was just sitting here thinking, I know you couldn't have done it just with Rosie. You've got to have that. You've got
Yeah.
to have that community
Yeah. The
also
Hope Writers,
supporting you.
great community.
Is
Yeah.
this an online community or is it in person, local?
It's an online community. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
awesome. Will you please share us about the best book that you've read recently and why did you love it?
Yes. So I have two because I couldn't just pick one.
Good, good. I love it.
The first one is called What Your Bones Know. Have you read it by Stephanie
No.
Wu? Stephanie Wu, I think is her name. Yes, it is so good. So this is a memoir,
Uh-huh.
a really beautiful, and I know you like memoirs about mother-daughter relationships
Love
too.
it. Love it.
Yes. So this was she had a mother, but she wrote it about complex PTSD, and she brought her therapist in it. I think towards the end, but her writing, it's just a beautiful memoir. You have to read it.
Thank you. It's going right to the top of the
Yeah.
list.
What My Bones Know. So good.
What a good title.
And then the other one is Black Woman Grief by Natasha
Mm.
Smith. And this was so good because she identified, it's kind of like with my complex shame, she identified something that I've experienced in this society and never had a name for it. And she talked about just, trauma and grief and isolation and gaslighting, all the things that specifically women and Black women in this country experience.
Mm.
And the name for it, Black woman grief, like this is what you're going through, and this is the hope for it, and this is the validation, and you're not alone, and it's real what you experience. So it was just such a good, good book.
Hmm. I was just
Yeah.
thinking about how incredible it is that she wrote that and you are seen and held through that. And your
Hmm.
book is going to be out there and doing the same for other people
Yes.
who read your book and needed to feel seen and held in that way that
Mm.
you are providing to others.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. That's
Oh,
exciting.
okay. All right. Usually at this point, I ask for, you to tell us a little bit about the book, but I think I still will. Please tell us just a little bit more, like a little log line or something like that. Stronger in the difficult places. What can readers
Yeah.
expect?
So this book is a book for anyone who has experienced shame. And let me give you a little tip about shame. Anywhere in your life that you're hiding, whether you're hiding to yourself, hiding from yourself, you're hiding in your relationship, your partnership, your work, anywhere in your life that you're hiding and you're thinking, I don't want them to know. Oh, if they found out. That's where your shame lives. So I've just helped you identify it.
What a very easy tool.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, I don't know what shame is. And here you just gave me a tool
Yep.
to hold to my eye and find it.
Right. So that's where it lives.
Wow.
And my book helps you learn what type of shame you have and helps you have a 9 step or 8 step process that helps you work through it to get to a place where shame is no longer driving, sabotaging your
Mm.
life. And I do it through my own shame story, which is a deep
Mhm.
story about my racial identity issues. I was forced to place a baby for adoption when I was 16, growing up in a fundamental Christian home and marrying somebody, that I shouldn't have married, and all of my shame stories. I explain how I developed complex shame and how I came out of it.
And all of that was for this good.
Yes.
And all the
Yes.
other and the all the I'm not trying to be reductive in any way.
No.
One of the things that the world is getting out of that is you being able to share that and transform
Yes.
other people.
Right. I
I
truly, truly
I
believe
I
that.
I feel with 100% of my heart that I have no right to say this, and I'm going to say it anyway.
Hmm.
I am so proud of you.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you. I
I
feel like
am.
you do have a right to say it because you've been like my sister. I think you're younger than I am, but you've been
I
my
doubt I am
sister.
younger than you. I am 53 years old.
Oh, okay, I'm 50. So
Okay, all right.
so you've been my big sister in this whole process. So thank you. That
Oh,
feels so good to hear you say that you're proud of me because you've been a part of this.
I cannot wait to celebrate this flying from the shelves. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for being
Rachel.
on the show. This has just made my whole month.
Me too. It's made my whole year. Thank you.